Hey guys, this is Darren Benton with Performance Motorcoaches in Wolford, Texas. I want to do a video here of this is actually a 2024 Renegade Explorer. This is probably the third video we've done of 38 Explorers in general since the product inception in 2022. We've used several of these the exact floor plans, so I'm kind of a bigger fan of this particular model right here. The Explorer is actually offered in two different configurations, basically a single bath 38 and then a bath and a half 40 foot. But this is kind of my favorite setup. This particular coach right here is sold. It's going to a customer out in New Mexico. We did a fair amount of upgrades. We kind of wanted to share a little more information about the coach, some of the upgrades we did, and then talk about some of the differences in the 2023s versus 2024s. Like I said, it really hadn't changed too much. Paint schemes really haven't changed. Chassis is relatively the same. So let's go ahead and jump on into it. So this is a Freightliner Cascadia 116. So it's a little bit shorter hood here versus a longer hood. It's 525 horsepower. It is the Detroit DD13. It's 12.8 liters, so it's the DD13, the shorter hood, and it's mated to a 6-speed Allison transmission. They uprated from 500 horse to 525 horse right about last year. I really can't tell too much difference in the actual horsepower here. You can tell it's set back just a little bit. The rest of the Cascadia cabs are really matched, so there's really not too much difference other than the hood itself. But everything is very visible out of the cab itself. They did a phenomenal job in the overall design of the exterior. They did the elevated front and rear caps matching your rooftop awnings. So just a really high-end look in a single axle coach. This will be kind of a little brother to the XL, so they're changing up the XLs for 2024 and doing the elevated cap. So we're pretty excited to have all the Renegade products, but this is just a nice product for somebody that's looking for a smaller footprint but still wants the big chassis itself. 4 slides all the way around. We'll just go ahead and jump on into it. And the first bay here, this was the first major upgrade right here. So this does have a full Victron system, which is your power inverter, solar controller. And essentially what we did here was take out the stock power inverter and then install a Multi-Plus 2, which allows 50 amp pass through here. So the nice thing about this right here, the customer has the option to be able to run a lot more options off of the inverter, and essentially, you know, if we basically configured one air conditioner off of the inverter, but the customer could go even further and basically configure the entire coach and then just be able to pick what options whenever he's inverting, but whenever he's plugged in and running your generator, you wouldn't have to worry about overloading anything as far as your pass-through through the inverter. So relatively easy install. We just have to move a few things around. And we did upgrade the solar controller and stick a few more panels up top just to be able to maximize as much real estate as we possibly could. So nice clean install, just had to move it from one side to the next. Definitely it's nice to have the Victron. I think it works the best with all the lithium batteries. This is equipped with 4 big lithiums on the other side. Did the outdoor cooler here. This is a dual zone. Oddly enough, the factory configures these outdoor coolers rearwards the axle, and I'll show you kind of why I don't like that. So there's 110 plug in there. Of course, it's so easy for us to take and add additional plugs here at the shop. It's your AquaHot hydronic system. We've talked about that numerous times, but it's a nice system to be able to have without drying out your air. Of course, it'll come standard with all these features. There's really not too many options. As far as exterior wise, outdoor cooler would be an option on the Explorer, and then the bedline storage compartments. This is standard, and then starting right about a year and a half ago, they went to pull out. There's a little magnetic system there, and a sound bar instead of just doing a regular stereo. So rearwards of the axle is kind of what I hinted on earlier, that if you order a cooler, they actually cover that nice big 3/4 pass-through right there. So there's a fair amount of room to be able to put, you know, ladders, brushes, anything like that all the way underneath. We'll take and kind of get this organized right here, some of the customer additions and extra spare parts. Rearwards of the axle here, we also have a central vac. The tools are located right there in that little bag, so you can use the tools either on that unit itself, or there's a port inside. Makes it nice to be able to vacuum your car, or if you need to vacuum some of your storage compartments as well. So nice two-piece cap. Renegade does a great job doing a two-piece cap, and the reason why you want a two-piece cap is if for the most part, if you damage this cap, you're probably going to damage the lower portion of it. So if if a trailer came off, or you jackknifed the trailer, or you backed into something, you're probably just going to damage this portion. So this portion right here can be put in a regular box in UPS, versus this giant guy right here will have to be truck shipped, which gets really expensive and definitely a lot more time and energy and money to be able to replace the entire cap. They've always done a really good job at redesigning the caps every few years to kind of give them a new modern feel, and then put a fair amount of lights on them. You can see it does have the elevated rear portion as well to match the rooftop awnings. So I've hinted this, and I've had customers call, even though you have a big chassis here, these are not designed to be pulling stackers. I don't care what anybody says, they are not big giant stacker pullers. There's a 20,000 pound hitch on here. If you had a relatively small stacker that had very little tongue weight, but you don't want to overload this guy right here. It's 20,000 pounds, but as far as hitch weight itself, I wouldn't run any more than about 1,500 pounds of hitch weight, because by the time you get loaded with waste and loaded with water, you're going to put a little bit too much weight on the back axle. So if you're flat towing a car, if you're a recreation guy, have a 24-foot trailer that doesn't have a lot of weight on it, really not an issue. But do not pull 30,000 pound stackers with these guys right here. So standard will be the cord reel right here. It is automatic in, manual out. There is a 110 connection up there in the top. We can always upgrade that to a 30 amp or even a 50 amp if the customer needed. Our local train. The generator placement will be the same on all the Renegade product line. Because of the weight savings on the rear axle, this being a single axle coach, they'll do only an 8K. Really wouldn't want to upgrade that after the fact, just to try to alleviate some of the weight on the back axle. The wet bay, and I've praised these guys for years, have a really easy to use wet bay. Essentially, if you don't know anything about RVs and you can read, it helps out. You don't have all these stickers. These stickers right here are kind of warning labels, but as far as operation, very, very simple. Kind of lets you know what's going on here. As long as you've got water running into this, you're either filling your tank or you're using the pressure. So very, very simple. You don't have to sit there and try to figure out what's going on. Makes it nice and easy. All this is all water jetted in here. There is access points right here to be able to get back, and there is a hydraulic register back inside this wet bay, so if you're in relatively cold climates, it'll keep this thing nice and warm. You do have a whole house water filter right there that will filter the water regardless of whether you're filling your tank or using city pressure. And then a few different spigots to be able, if you were rinsing off a dog or anything like that. It's all cold water. But if a customer wanted to upgrade the outdoor shower to a hot shower, there again, it's something we can easily do here at the shop. So 75-gallon gray, 75-gallon black here, and it does have the macerator system installed, so pretty much maxed out as far as options on the exterior of this. One thing I wanted to show you, the baggage doors. So there's, you would say, well, what's so special about a door? Well, you look at it and you notice whenever the baggage door closes and opens. So basically, once it gets so far, this piston shock will actually push the door open. But once it gets just a little bit inward, that changes direction and it closes all by itself. You would have to go in the RV industry and look at several different manufacturers to be able to see anything engineered and designed like that. So they're very, very stout. If you ever need to change one, everything bolts through. It's not just all screwed through. They just do a phenomenal job. And it's, for people that are in and out, that just drives me nuts. A lot of the other manufacturers that are out there in regards to, to their baggage door. So just nice, clean. It's consistent all the way across the product line, from their Vienna all the way to their Icon. Same baggage door, different size, but same all mechanism. So makes it really nice. Just one less thing to potentially break. So right here we do have all of the lithium batteries. So there's 4 270 amp hour batteries there. It's kind of maxed out. We've not attempted to do a 5th battery in there. Really and truly, most of our customers say, 3 to 4 is really all we need if we're out boondocking. Most customers will start their generator. If they're running their air conditioner in the wintertime, you can generally get enough solar in as long as you're in the southern states. But, we could obviously do more configuration. We do have the chassis batteries up there. There's a port right here to be able to air up some tires as well. You could use this for some mild storage right here up on top. Nothing that created any heat by any means. Because this is a single fuel tank, and because the axle's pushed back just a little bit, you have a single fuel tank that does protrude back into your conversion. There is a jack basically between that compartment and your fuel tank. So your fuel tank will go to about right here, then you'll have one of your jacks right here. So single 120 gallon fuel tank, definitely my preference. Don't have to fuel on both sides. Makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to visit a truck stop to get this guy fueled up. And then I believe that is a 13 gallon DEF tank. Detroit does, I'm a bigger fan of their emissions in that for the most part, you can generally run, all the way across the country before you'll need DEF. A lot of the Cummins engines, it seems, I've had them where I can't get home from Indiana to Texas in 1,200 miles with the amount of DEF that's on board. So I just think that they have a little bit better integrated emission system. So really easy entry into the cab. Got a few grab handles here that makes it nice and easy. So if you're limited mobility, or have a few extra pounds on you, it makes it a little bit easier to get in and out of the cab. We did upgrade the seats. So Renegade they upgraded their seats last year to a Sears seat. I just don't think it's as nice. So this is a ISRI, so this is typically like a Freightliner proprietary seat. Freightliner doesn't offer it with heat, so we get these seats from Freightliner and then we go ahead and add heat to them. They retain the turning pedestal. We do have some trucks coming in that will have heated and cooled with a turning pedestal as well. We did all ceramic window tint on the cab itself. Sometimes customers just want a clear ceramic window tint, which is not a problem, which is probably what I would prefer. So if you don't want any window tint itself, just the protection, and it makes a huge difference. If you're out in the sun, if you were walked into one versus the other, you'd be able to tell a big difference between the heat inside the cab itself. So really easy entry into this. I'll unclip this and come back around. Pretty effortless. Kind of get into more about the Detroit engine. So essentially, for the people that don't know, Daimler, which is Mercedes, owns Detroit Diesel, and they own Freightliner. And so several years ago, they wanted to kind of mimic what Volvo was doing, which is building their own trucks, their transmissions, as many components as they possibly could, just trying to control, from a quality standpoint and from a warranty standpoint. So one thing that I've always liked about the Detroit is they have a cartridge filter instead of a spin-on filter, and it's something that most people would never think about. But the issue with the spin-on filter is gravity's working on it all the time, vibration, and so in general, if you get a filter that leaks, it's going to be a spin-on filter versus a cartridge. Also, these filters are relatively cheap compared to some of the spin-on filters. You just take your VIN number in, go to Freightliner. I recommend everybody to have an extra set of filters on board. Most of the over-the-road truck places can get this guy in and out within about an hour to change the oil, and it's relatively inexpensive. But I definitely like the cartridge filter setup. Just so many things that I know that Freightliner has thought about versus buying this engine, buying this part, buying this, and basically not putting everything together from an engineering standpoint, just simply purchasing them. We could do any kind of blackout here, but I wouldn't recommend doing any kind of blackout on this particular rig right here. So we'll jump in and kind of show you what it's like closed up, and then we'll get it paused to your full bath right here, and then I'll kind of walk up through. So full entry into the cab. Basically, I can get to anything I need. I can get to the refrigerator. So it's a very usable coach while you're driving up and down the road, or if you pulled into a rest stop overnight and didn't want to kick your slide outs out, you can basically get to everything. So let's go ahead and get it paused, and then we'll come back. Okay, here we're inside now. Got all the slides open. A ton of room here whenever you get the dual slides. You don't get too much on this side right here with plumbing, but this guy right here does run out a full 32.5 inches, so a lot more floor room right here. Your plumbing slide, I believe, runs out about 16 to 18 inches, but so you got a ton of floor space whenever it is open. Like I said, this is just kind of my favorite floor plan because you have the opposing seating right here. Yes, it's built more for two, but if you did have some friends that you were having, any kind of conversation, you can put 4 people here and have a normal conversation. Of course, you couldn't really feed 4 people and sleep 4 people, and that's okay in an RV for me because I don't really need a lot of people kind of hanging out. But it does have the televator right there. We get varied opinions on, I want to be able to see out the window. Well, just drop the TV down, not a problem. Most everybody is entertaining nowadays via phone and iPad, so TVs are kind of, halfway on the out. We did go ahead and upgrade this guy to the Starlink, so it does have the in-motion Starlink on it as well. So all the TVs will stream. I can tell you the first Starlink that we did, we streamed all 3 TVs, watching something different, and then 3 of us jumped inside and FaceTimed other people, and basically no issues, no glitches. We went and drove around. Little glitch running underneath a overpass as to be expected, but a big fan of the Starlink, and I think we're probably at about 75% of the customers that are buying these rigs are doing the Starlink, and really and truly, I kind of think that the satellite's out. I wish they would offer the satellite as an option just to be able to save the money and be able to put the money in Starlink. But last 2-person dinette, a little bit of storage underneath there, a ton of storage right here. So if you're full time, you can easily put air fryers. And there again, if you had something larger, you're like, hey, I need more room here. We need to be able to move any of this stuff around. But you do have a ton of storage right here. So you have storage underneath. This is kind of your high fidelity cabinet, but they have Blu-ray players. I don't know who uses those any longer, but you could use that additional storage. They will all have residential refrigerators. They went away from the ones with the handles. Being OCD, I just have to open up my refrigerator like this and like this and like that. And then we'll go ahead and flop around to the kitchen. They did a good job at kind of maximizing a ton of space. So they went into the side of the bathroom wall where you didn't need that much storage on the inside, and then kind of broke it up. You got a small little cabinet right here. So more pots and pans would be like in larger, but if you need small cans. So I'm personally not a fan of the sink covers and the stove covers. I recommend people taking those out and putting them in their garage, but they are there. There again, if a customer wanted to upgrade to some type of a cutting board to be able to go over that, not a problem. For people that are watching this new and not very familiar with the Renegade, all your drawers are all dovetail and they're all soft close. So great cabinet work. You can go into a lot of diesel pushers in the $700,000 price category and not get that level of cabinetry. Induction cooktop here, so just a 2-burner. And on the Renegade Explorer line, they'll all be recessed right here. One thing that we do to all these, you hear a lot of complaints for people that have followed Renegade for quite some year. You hear people complain about what you sleep on and what you sit on. And so this was a decent theater seat, but they really felt full. And so we take these and pull some of the stuffing out so you can sit down in the seat versus sitting on top of the seat. That makes a huge difference. I drove this rig in last week. I stopped for a little bit to watch some TV and ended up going to bed because it was not comfortable, because I felt like I was trying to be pushed out of here. A little bit of storage. They got these little guys. I don't know, this, I guess put my Hungry Man dinner on here, or my corn dogs, but they're there if somebody wants them, but I don't think I'd be using them too often. Little USB plugs here. Of course, you have some USB plugs, USB-Cs around the sides and whatnot. All of the window shades on the Explorer are manual, which I'm fine with that. Not a big fan of the automatic shades. I feel like it's just something else to break. They really haven't changed any of the cabinetry and the trim work. They do a good job at backlighting some of this, and then some of the got a little cove right here. So it's a really high-end feel. I wish that they would add the soft touch vinyl to them. There was talks about adding soft touch vinyl to them. It just quite hadn't happened. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. That's what they'll probably say next year. Maybe next year. So for people that are used to diesel pushers, it's not really too much of an issue. But I'm just a lot bigger fan of the soft touch vinyl. So just kind of matching the ceiling, doing those on the walls, kind of breaks things up a little bit. We won't really get in the cab too much because I have several videos there. This does have the dual digital dash right here. Will be equipped with factory Freightliner TomTom navigation, and then you'll have a monitor overhead there for your reverse cameras and for your side cameras as well. We went ahead and pulled the original mats out and did these nice molded floor liners right here. Very easy to get in and out of the cab. Like I said, and these do turn around and they are heated as well. And they're much, much more comfortable seat than what you would normally get in any of the Renegade lineup right here. So more storage. Really won't go into any of this. We'll come back here into the bath area. So across in your bath area, you do have a big cabinet, and then you do have all your electronics, and then this is the Victron Servo right there that basically will give you an idea of what your batteries are doing, what your inverter is doing, how much time you have left as well. And of course, that's where we go through and pull a lot of new wires from your inverter compartment up here. They do make a chase, which makes it really nice. You don't have to drill through the floor. So they do have a chase that runs from here down underneath. Saves you quite a bit of time. You don't have to go drilling anything at all. Washer dryer. Like I said, a little bit tight, but it just all kind of depends upon what you're trying to get into. They do some extension hinges right here, so I can still take and open this up. What I like about this versus the Ford Explorer is I can take all my laundry out, throw it on the bed, and then basically fold everything on the bed, and then you can still get to everything top and bottom. And I'm 220 pounds, 6 foot tall, so I can still move stuff up and down. Really not an issue there. So all pocket doors, they're just magnetic. And then same here. So definitely a smaller bathroom, but you're in an RV. I really don't need a monster bath in an RV. I'm going to get in there to do my business and get the heck out. Storage right here. Just eliminate the cameraman from getting in. And so you can see right here, I've got decent room on the toilet itself. If I need to take a little nap or rest here, I've got plenty of room to be able to kind of lay around. But for people that have lots of items, between that cabinet across and this cabinet right here, you should be able to accommodate pretty much most items. One thing I noticed about the new XL line, they actually eliminated this cabinet for a full-size mirror, and I would imagine you'll see us when we get some of the XLs pulling that mirror off and putting a cabinet back into place there. So I'll jump in and do my shower trick. So a little bit lower right there because of the lower ceiling height, but I'm able to get in and out of there. They will all have a handheld wand right here, and then this does jump up and down. So if you were bathing somebody a little bit shorter, not a problem to be able to get to. And then they do, unfortunately, they do on this particular product line. You cannot get it without a sun skylight there, but you know, just kind of is what it is. But you know, decent room here. I said, you know, this is 38 foot, so it's relatively small floor plan footprint itself. Come back here into the master. This is probably where I would really want the soft touches to kind of break up this rear wall. I mean, I couldn't imagine having this rear wall without the mirror itself, but just kind of, you know, if you had some kind of soft touch and broke it up with a chair rail, it just kind of make it feel more finished, in my opinion. So we upgraded the customer's mattress here, and then the water tanks are below the bed itself. So twin 75 gallons to 150 gallons total here, and that does have the hydronic register. So for people that don't know kind of what that boiler system is, the boiler heats ethylene glycol, which is basically antifreeze, and then it pumps it through these guys right here. So everything is very serviceable, very easy to get to. This mattress right here is, we ordered this mattress a little long from the normal 75 just to be able to accommodate we've actually got another customer that's relatively tall. He's over 6 foot tall, and so we were able to order a mattress that flips over and be able to give him a little bit more room for his feet here. So at the head of the bed, you know, you have two shelves right here. We've had people ask about building larger shelves to accommodate a CPAP. For 2024, they're actually going to do a plug back in here for the CPAP. Now we've heard kind of conflicting stories on, hey, it needs to be lower, but there again, if you want an extra 110 plug in there, that's something we can easily add here in the shop. So underneath here, you have a master control, master Firefly control. So I can take and drop all the lights, turn them all on, of course start my generator. Lots of different functions and features there. Of course, you have the Firefly app on your phone, the Mirror app. You can take and do all that stuff as well. So a little bit tighter around here, not a ton of room right here, but you know, if you just need to be able to get in and out of bed, not too much of an issue. And there again, if somebody said, hey, I want to order a mattress a few inches narrower to be able to more easily get in and out of bed, not an issue, not a problem here. So we'll run to the entertainment closet right here. Get everything opened up. They've done this for quite some time. I guess if you wanted to do like a hamper down there, be able to open that up and throw your laundry in the hamper itself. Most of all this stuff is convertible. You know, we could take and do additional shelves or anything like that in all those places. But fair amount of storage here. And really and truly, at this day and age, most people need more drawers than they do hanging space. Not too many items are hung at this day and age. So 32-inch smart TV back here. And they do run all of the all of your HDMI cables. So if you needed some additional media, you can easily integrate into the TV. So we do have 124 that's coming along. They're really not too much different. The biggest thing they offer for the 2024 is a single color paint job. Typically this demographic doesn't really enjoy the single color paint job. This is generally younger people, but that is an option for somebody that might want a single color. They basically offer like a solid gray and a solid white, but glad they haven't changed the product too much, just to not degrade any of the resale for people that have a 22 model. Like I said, this is a 23, late model 23, but fun product to drive. You know, I've driven several of these things. I've taken them on vacation. They're easy to drive at 75 plus miles an hour and pretty much effortlessly. I'm a much bigger fan of this than getting down into the M2. So cool product. You know, we appreciate you guys coming out and watching the video. We know if you're watching it right here, even they're 30 minutes of me jabbering about things, but make sure you guys keep on coming back. Make sure you guys like, tag, and subscribe.